Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 24th of July 2023. In today's newspaper discussion, we are going to cover some of the topics from the editorial section of the newspaper that is largely important for the mains exam. And also we are going to cover those topics as well that are short in nature and that will be beneficial for the prelims exam. And for you, we have also covered some questions for prelims and mains exam. So with this, let us start the discussion for the day. So these are the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's discussion. So there are in all 11 topics that we have identified for discussion today. So let's start the discussion with the first topic. So this topic says dilemmas of India's great power ambitions. Okay, so this particular topic is important for GS paper 2 of the mains exam. The syllabus part which is related to this topic has been mentioned here, and also the syllabus part for for GS paper 3 is also linked over here. So in your free time, you can go through the article and you can also learn about how it is connected with the syllabus. So with this, let us start the discussion. Okay, dilemmas of India's great power ambitions. So this is topic 1. Dilemmas of India's great power ambition. Of India's great power ambitions. Power ambitions. So let's start the discussion. So this particular topic is important for GS paper 2, okay, for GS paper 2 of the mains exam, and also it is important for GS paper 3. Now let us discuss about what is power ambition of India. So through this article, the author wants to highlight about the power ambition of India, power ambitions. Power ambitions for or of India. Okay, power ambitions of India. So before we understand about what are ambitions of India related to power, we also need to understand what do we mean by power. What are different types of powers? Okay, so if I talk about in international relations, so in international relations, powers are considered to be of two types in general. So one of the type of power is known as soft power. Okay, soft power. The other type of power is hard power. Okay, other type of power is hard power. So we need to understand about the difference between these two types of power. When we talk about soft power is something which is influential in nature. For example, the culture of India. Okay, the culture of India can be used to influence, international community, and we have used this particular soft power in making the United Nations organization declare the International Day of Yoga. You might be knowing that we do have an International Yoga Day or International Day of Yoga. So this is the influential capacity of a country to influence the world at large using its culture. So we have used this our culture, and we have got yoga to be declared as a International Day of Yoga. And apart from this, our cultures can shape the culture of some other countries. It can influence. Okay, so similarly, the United States of America or Western countries does have huge influential power in our country, right? We are following their dress patterns. We have largely started using the dress code that they are following in their country. We are wearing shirt, pant, we are wearing jeans, which is largely, influenced by their country. So soft power is through, soft diplomacy. It is done through soft diplomacy, that is part of soft culture. Okay, culture like cinema, entertainment, these are part of, soft power. Okay, so entertainment, etc. So we have Bollywood, which is highly influential in the world at large, and this Bollywood has played key role in like bringing India to the world stage, where like we showcase our culture, we showcase let's say like about India to the world at large through our Bollywood or entertainment related thing. And if I talk about hard power occupies many things. For example, like the capacity of the country, like if I talk about that India is a nuclear weapon country, so that's a connotation of hard power, right? And economic power is also considered to be a part of hard power. Okay, so military capacity or military power, right? Or economic power are part of hard power. Okay, so in this article dilemmas of India's great power ambitions, in this article the author has talked about hard power capacity of India, means like how does India or how should India, right, look for its fulfilling its ambition of being a great power. So in this article the author has discussed about economic power. Okay, what it has discussed about? It has discussed about economic power. So when we talk about economic power, here we mean that what is, let's say, how large is India's economy when it comes to the world at large, right? So currently India is the 5th largest economy in the world. Okay, 5th largest economy in the world. Okay, currently it is means like 2023 data. So we are about to reach $4 trillion mark. $4 trillion means the India's, okay, $4 trillion. So India's economy is about to grow to $4 trillion, right, in terms of nominal GDP. Okay, in terms of nominal GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. You might be knowing gross domestic product is the value of all the goods and services that are produced inside a country, inside the geographical territory of country by Indian nationals as well as foreign nationals, right? So here we talk about the geographical connotation. So value of all the goods and services that are produced inside Indian geographical territory will form part of the gross domestic product. So when we talk about nominal GDP, right, nominal GDP, so India's economy is about to reach $4 trillion and we are ambitious, we are aspiring to become the $5 trillion economy by certain time. And so that's why the author says that India is currently the 5th largest economy in the world and we are ambitious of becoming the 4th largest economy, right, very soon. So this showcases the economic power. But has it been the same, if we trace the let's say past of India, right? So if we talk about India's economic past, right? If we trace India's economic past, so how has been the economic past of India? The moment we inherited, let's say the moment we became independent, right? After we became an independent nation, right? At that point of time, right, in 1947, at that point of time the economy was in turmoil. Why? Because India as a country has seen 200 years of colonization, and that colonization was in the nature of, let's say, the Britishers were exploiting India of its resources. They were, let's say, looting resources from India, and they were growing their own economy from the resources that they were extracting from India, right? So when we talk about that when India became an independent nation in 1947, right, in 1947, that time the economy was not as good as it could have been, right, if India was not a colonial state. And if I talk about 1991, okay, in 1991 the country's economic shape was not good. At that point of time, let's say we had around $5.8 billion, okay, only $5.8 billion dollars of forex reserve. Forex means foreign exchange reserve at that point of time. And if I talk about today's figure, if I talk about the figure of 2023, so we have around, right, 600 billion, okay, 600 billion forex reserve of the country, right, foreign exchange reserve. So you can see that, like, you know, when we were independent nation, that time, like, poverty was a very big issue. You might have seen the let's say, like, you know, 5-year plans, the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, and initial 5-year plans. So all those 5-year plans talked about, right, the economic status of India. I mean, like, you know, they were just pushing towards, let's say, bringing reducing the poverty level in India. And so we have achieved a remarkable let's say, like, you know, target by reducing the poverty level in India. And in this article, the author highlights, I mean, like, a kind of, let's say, dilemma between adopting two different strategies. On one side, okay, so the author talks about the dilemma between adopting two types of strategies. One strategy where people talk about that, like, India as a country should strive to become a global power, okay, should strive to become a global power. And to become a global power, India has to focus on its national security, right? It has to focus on its national security. And apart from this, it has to focus on building foreign relations, okay? Building foreign relations or foreign diplomacy. For that, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, okay? So Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be allocated more funds, okay? So this is one part of the story. Means, like, some people are proposing that, like, you know, we should focus on national security. We should, let's say, like, import huge amount of weapons so that, like, India becomes a let's say, a self-sufficient country, in the sense that, like, you know, India is able to safeguard itself. Because, like, if I talk about 1970s, okay, during 1975 or 76, just after, right, just after this financial emergency, that point of time, right, India was like in a stage of, right, in a stage of warfare. Like, India Pakistan, like, you know, war was very imminent at that point of time. So there, like, you know, we have faced some shortages of having our own equipments, right? And now if I talk about 2023, in 2023 or 2020s, I'm just writing 2020s, means it means 2021, 22, 23 and so on. We are again in a situation of, let's say, India versus China, okay? That time it was India versus Pakistan, but Pakistan was relatively a very small nation as compared to India. So India had like economic advantage, it has military advantages, and India, let's say, like, you know, was a country that had, like, you know, more resources as compared to Pakistan. But if I talk about 2020s, 2020, 21, 22 and all, at this point of time, like, you know, one of the biggest rival of India is China. China is trying to influence in our border areas. It is trying to, let's say, capture our border areas. And we are doing our best to safeguard our border areas. Since we are a, let's say, independent nation, since we are a sovereign nation, it is our right to defend our territory, okay? And for that, like, you know, India is also trying to surpass China in terms of economic power. At this point of time, like, you know, China being a bigger geographical, having a bigger geographical territory, naturally they have more natural resources, right, in their country as compared to India. And, like, you know, they have emerged to be a, let's say, wealthier country as compared to India since India's independence. So if I talk about the walk in the sense from 1947 till 2023 in India, and similar was the, let's say, independence walk for China as well, right, 1948 or 49 till now. So China has grown, I mean, like, you know, to become a larger economy as compared to India. But still, this particular viewpoint that says that, like, India should emerge as a global power, right, it should think of, let's say, like, you know, like influencing the global community through its power. So this is one pathway to adopt the author says. But at the same time, there is another ideology as well, right? The another viewpoint related to power. And what is that viewpoint? That viewpoint says, okay, so I'm going to write down that viewpoint also for you. The other viewpoint says that, you know, the second strategy I'm writing, it says like India should look internally, okay? It should look internally and it should try to bring people out of poverty, okay? So we should look into like, you know, poverty alleviation, okay? We should look forward towards poverty alleviation. Poverty alleviation means reducing the level of poverty that India has, right? And for this, like India should, you know, think of giving food security to people, right? Food security. So you might be knowing that Government of India has National Food Security Act 2013. Through this National Food Security Act, we provide guaranteed ration to people, right, to the household in India. And also we have like one this one ration card policy, one nation, one ration card, like that, okay, where like we are allowing the ration cards to be, let's say used in different parts of the country by the same household, okay. So like it's why food security? Because we want to reduce poverty. We want to reduce hunger, okay. We want to reduce poverty, we want to reduce hunger. So the other viewpoint says like, you know, instead of looking for the outside, we should look inward. We should look, you know, for solving those problems that are existing in India, that are existing internally in India, okay. So between these two viewpoints, okay, between these two viewpoints lies a middle path. That middle path, the author is talking about that, like, you know, between these two viewpoints lies a middle path. And what is that middle path all about? That middle path is, let's say, balancing the priorities, okay. Middle path should be balancing the priorities. Balancing the priorities. How do we balance the priorities? We can balance the priorities by, let's say, like, you know, looking internally also by, let's say, like, you know, resolving all the problems that we are facing internally, and also by looking externally, because like India has emerged as one of the most powerful nations in terms of military capacity, in terms of economic status, in terms of population, in terms of its culture. So we do have, like, you know, we do have the economic power as well, and we should not, let's say, let it loose. We should not leave everything to the, let's say, Ministry of External Affairs to do everything. In this article, they show that like there should be willingness from the political party or from the political side. There should be political alignment to strengthen India externally as well. So that, like, you know, external powers, external countries should look towards India with a high, let's say, like, you know, high stature. That like India is a country, like, you know, that has more power as compared to any other country in the world. So the author says like we need to balance the priorities in such a manner that like we give adequate importance to the internal matters as well, so that nobody points out from outside that, like, you know, India is not able to focus on its internal affairs and like it is just showcasing outside. Okay, so that should not be the view. I mean, like, you know, we should be able to balance the internal things and we should be able to balance the external things as well. In this article, the author has said that the country must focus on bringing the political views to shape India's global image externally. How do we shape global image? By giving priorities to our foreign relations, by giving priorities to our economic relation with other countries. And, like, you know, we have been discussing the current affair discussion. You might be knowing that India is doing a great, putting great effort in bringing its foreign relations, right, to its desired level. In the sense, like, you know, we are having bilateral tie-ups with many other countries, and in such a manner that, like, you know, we are moving towards, let's say, bilateral exchange, like using rupee. We are trying to, we are trying to bypass the existing, existing economic hegemony of some of the currencies in the world, like US dollar, right? That has been the de facto currency in the world market. But we are also trying to, let's say, strengthen our rupee in international market. Recently, India, UAE, agreement has been signed where, we have allowed bilateral exchange of currency, right, in rupee dirham thing. So that has also happened. And apart from this, China, you might be knowing the Chinese yuan, right? So Chinese yuan, they have made it a global currency. Similarly, we are also trying our best. So in this article, the author has talked about balancing the strategies, right, in such a manner that, India should be able to, let's say, overcome the dilemma when it comes to seeing it as a global power in the times to come, right? You can read this article to understand little more because finer details are given in this article, right? So with this, we will move to the next topic now. And also, we have included some questions, right, for prelims and mains. So I'll be taking them also during the discussion. And as I already discussed that, you should be very regular in attending the lectures so that, you do not miss out on the threads because things are connected, right? Whatever we discussed on Friday, Saturday, those things may, let's say, reoccur. And most of the things are, let's say, connected. So if you read more, so you will be able to connect the dots. You will be able to develop deeper understanding in these topics, right? So let's talk about this topic. It says a case for new pronouns for AI, right? So we are going to discuss this particular topic. This topic is important for GS paper 3 under science and technology, right? So we are going to discuss this topic. It says, a case for new pronouns for AI. So you might be knowing that related to artificial intelligence, here AI means artificial intelligence. So in this article, we are going to refer to generative AI, right? Generative artificial intelligence, right? So you might be knowing that since the introduction of ChatGPT, right, most of the people around the world have started taking renewed interest in generative artificial intelligence. And related to generative AI, there have been many viewpoints from the authors, right? Initially when it came about, so people were, let's say, little bit, people were optimistic about what role it can play, right? People were optimistic, how it can be beneficial for human being. And soon after then, people started thinking about how do we regulate artificial intelligence, right? How do we regulate? Means people started thinking that artificial intelligence is going to, let's say, take away jobs from people. And also there have been viewpoint that if it is not regulated properly, so unethical things will also start happening in artificial intelligence arena. So ethical dimension came into play, came into discussion, and also regulation related aspects came into let's say discussion. So regulation was one of the aspect initially. Then people started thinking about ethical dimension. Then initially people started thinking about usability of AI. And we have also seen some competitive measures by different, let's say competitive steps by taken by some rival companies XAI by Elon Musk. So these were ethical viewpoints, means people have signed petitions also. Thousands of people have signed petitions related to artificial intelligence. Regulation related, the European Union has, right, already came up with, let's say, law that regulates artificial intelligence. Then usability, it is now being used in multiple arenas. Then, articles started coming related to, let's say, what can be the negative aspects, okay? What can be the negative aspects of using, okay, of using ChatGPT or chatbots of AI. So these were the kind of discussions that have been happening related to artificial intelligence. But in today's article, we are going to understand about another important aspect. Okay, in today's article, in today's discussion, basically, we are going to understand about another important aspect. What is that aspect all about? So that aspect is like, using pronouns. Okay, using pronouns for artificial intelligence. You might be knowing that, like, if you are typing anything, if you are asking anything to ChatGPT, right, it gives a response in a manner that a human being is giving a response. Means the response that it provides is intelligible. Intelligible means it is an intelligent response, and this response, let's say, resembles to a very highly educated person's response. Let's say, like, there is a very high level professional. If you ask a question related to his domain, he is going to give a response in such a manner that, like, you will understand that he has a deeper understanding on this. Similarly, the ChatGPT or generative AI is giving response in that manner. But the question arises over here that, like, if the you might be knowing that ChatGPT or these things, they act as black boxes. Okay, they act as what? Black boxes. Black box means whatever input it gets, right? Whatever input it gets, it has an algorithm. Using that algorithm, like, it has a feedback, it has a feedback loop. That feedback loop is about positive and negative. If it gets positive something, right, so it boosts that particular thing. If it comes across something negative, so, like, it let's say, like, it demotes that particular thing. So it goes through this particular repetitive exercise, right? And since it is a black box, once an input has been made over here, that input, like, it is very highly difficult to, let's say, regulate the like output that it generates, because the output is based on the input itself, right? So this particular artificial intelligence may sometimes, right, most of the times, let's say, it gives right answers, and sometimes it may give factually wrong answers itself, right? It can give factually wrong answers also. So that's why let's say, scientists around the world who are, let's say, like, working in the domain of artificial intelligence, they are thinking of regulating the artificial intelligence so that the negative aspect do not outplay the positive aspect, right? And in that aspect, right, there have been multiple things that have been done. But one of the thing is, like, legality associated with artificial intelligence. So you might be knowing that, like, across different countries, right, they do have laws. In India also we have laws, like, those laws recognize natural persons and legal persons. What it does, like, the laws recognize natural persons and legal persons. Natural persons means human beings. Let's say, like, I am a natural person, so the court will recognize me as he, like, he, a person who is natural person. There can be a girl, she a natural person. Similarly, if I talk about legal persons may be companies, okay, maybe companies, corporations, right? So companies, corporations, institutions, so they are considered as legal persons. For example, like, if some case is happening in related to enforcement directorate in the Supreme Court or in the High Court, so enforcement directorate is considered as a legal person. So cases are filed against enforcement directorate and they respond. And similarly, the state governments, central governments, they are legal persons. Okay, so, like, we do have natural persons and legal persons. But if we talk about, like, legal aspect of the things, so what happens, the courts, I mean, like, if they have to adjudicate something related to ChatGPT, right? If I talk about the courts, if they have to adjudicate something related to ChatGPT, so what will happen, the ChatGPT, I mean, like, it is giving response like a human being. But the thing is, like, it is saying itself that, like, I know this, I do not know this. So these are, let's say, pronouns that it is using. So how should court interpret this thing? Okay, so there have been many connotation in legal aspect also. So they are still, let's say, pondering about like, you know, how do we take ChatGPT? It is not a natural person, definitely, I mean, like, you know, but can it be considered as a legal person? But like how come like it says I, me, you, like that, I mean, like, you know, how it refers. So for that matter, in this article the author has suggested that, like, you know, for something like ChatGPT or generative AI, the world, like, you know, we can come up with some pronouns that are neutral in nature, okay, pronouns that are gender neutral in nature, okay, gender neutral in nature, okay. Gender neutral means like it should be responding in such a manner that, like, you know, it is not a natural person, right? And author has given some examples of those gender neutral terms, right? And those terms, the author says that, like, you know, these gender neutral terms, the gender neutral terms, okay, the author says that these gender neutral terms have existed, okay, have existed for more than 150 years, right? It has existed for more than 150 years. However, these are not in use, okay, these are not in use. So in this article, the author herself is a content writer related to artificial intelligence, okay. She gives input to AI machines and AI systems, and she has recommended that, like, you know, gender neutral pronouns must be used by ChatGPT or artificial intelligence systems or chatbots, so that the courts may find it easy to, let's say, like, you know, giving some kind of legality to it, okay. So this is the thing. You need to read this particular article to understand about those terms that the author has mentioned. Some of the terms I'll be writing over here, like, you know, these are gender neutral terms, okay, just a minute. So these are gender neutral terms. I'll be just writing it for your benefit, okay, so that, like, we can understand about this thing. The author has mentioned has, HES, okay. Then other gender neutral term is H, like Heiser, okay, HISER. Then there are many such terms that the author has mentioned, HEM. These are terms that we as people do not use regularly, but the author has suggested that, you know, these pronouns, okay, pronouns that the ChatGPT is using or other artificial intelligence system is using must be, let's say, like, you know, must be renewed in such a manner so that, like, you know, it responds like a natural, like, you know, it responds like a, let's say, like, you know, gender neutral person. So with this, let's take a question. I mean, like, you know, let's take a question. You can read that article after downloading. You will get some sense out of it, okay. So it says, advancement in AI is a boon to humankind. In light of this, discuss the benefits and challenges associated with artificial intelligence in India, right? What you need to do, you need to write this answer in 150 words, and it is going to be a 10 marks question, okay. It's going to be a 10 marks question. After writing your answer, you can share your answer copy with us at evaluation, right, at lukmaanias.com, okay, at evaluation at lukmaanias.com, so that, like, we go through it and, like, we will give you like evaluated copy back, okay, so that, like, you can see how well you are writing, and also it is going to bring some answer writing practice for you, okay. So with this, let us move to another topic quickly. This is also a very good topic we are going to discuss in detail. It says the politics of the Uniform Civil Code, okay, the politics of Uniform Civil Code. We are going to discuss about this topic. The politics of Uniform Civil Code. I am just writing in short, UCC. UCC stands for Uniform Civil Code. So before we start the discussion related to UCC, let us understand about what is Uniform Civil Code. So Uniform Civil Code is a law that the government of India, okay, that the government of India wants to bring Okay, it wants to bring a law, and this particular law is going to, let's say, like, going to regulate the personal affairs. Okay, it's going to regulate the personal, it is also known as personal law related thing. What are the personal aspects that it's going to relate, let's say, like, it's going to look into? There will be some personal affairs like marriage, right? Marriage, divorce, alimony, inheritance, adoption, etc. Right? So this Uniform Civil Code is mentioned under Article 44 of the Constitution of India. And so Article 44 is part of Directive Principles of State Policy. Okay? So this Directive Principles of State Policy says that the state must strive to bring a uniform civil code in India. And this uniform civil code for the first time was introduced, like, during the time when Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, okay, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the law minister in India. Okay. And that point of time, the Prime Minister of India was Jawaharlal Nehru. So that time, like, they thought of bringing the uniform civil code, but like they could not implement it at that point of time because of opposition from different let's say sections of the society. But now this uniform civil code is again in news because the current government, the present government which is in power, it wants to, let's say, bring this uniform civil code, it wants to pass this particular law. And for that, the 22nd Law Commission in India, okay, for that, the 22nd Law Commission in India is taking input. It is taking input from various sections of the society related to their objections, related to their, let's say, view, what is to be included, what is not to be included, like, and different views from different stakeholders. They are taking views from different stakeholders in the country. So these views will be taken till 31st of July, okay, 31st of July, they are going to take these views, and the government of India wants to implement the Uniform Civil Code, like, they want to introduce it in the parliament in the monsoon session, okay, in the monsoon session of the parliament. Monsoon session of the parliament. So having understood the background of this particular topic, let us understand, like, what is happening now. In this article, the author has talked about the present government. It has talked about the present government. The author said that the present government, like, when it came into power, it had, let's say, like, some of the most highlighted things that it wanted to implement. One of the things that it wanted to implement is it wanted to abrogate Article 370. Okay, it wanted to abrogate Article 370 of the Constitution of India. Means they wanted to take out the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, statehood of Jammu and Kashmir. So after then, what the government has done, they have, let's say, like, dissolved the statehood of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It has converted it into union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, right? And then they had an issue of Ram Mandir that they wanted to implement. So they have done it. Now the next target is Article 44 of the Constitution, means they want to implement Uniform Civil Code. But here the author says that, like, implementing Uniform Civil Code is not a very simple aspect, because it's going to affect the personal laws of different communities and different religious, let's say, like, people in the country. That includes the Muslims, that includes the Hindus, that includes the Christians, that includes the Parsis, the Jains, Buddhists, everyone, right? It affects all the religious communities equally, and every religious section of the society, they have their own personal law. and using those personal laws, they govern the aspects related to marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, etc. But this particular law tries to bring uniformity, and that's going to, let's say, like, hamper some of the personal laws that are already in existence. And already we have talked in our earlier discussions that it will be better implemented if these reforms comes from the personal law boards itself. And related to this, like, we do have All India Muslim Personal Law Board, and this All India Muslim Personal Law Board looks into the, let's say, like, Shariat law or personal laws of the country. Okay, so in this article I'm going to write about, like, those Shariat laws that are already in existence in India. Okay, so for example, one of the thing is the Muslim personal law. The Muslim personal law, which is known as Sharia, okay, Application Act, Shariat Application Act 1937. So this is one of the law that regulates the, let's say, Sharia law in India. And apart from this, we do have the Dissolution of Marriage Act 1939. Okay, Dissolution of Marriage Act 1939. Apart from this, the Government of India has recently implemented, okay, the Government of India has recently implemented Triple Talaq Bill, okay, Triple Talaq law in the year of 2019. Okay, so these are the things that the author says, and the author says that, like, the hyper nationalist activity that showcases the majoritarian view, they want to, let's say, implement the majoritarian ideology of the country, right, majoritarian view on the minority sections of the country. So the author says that this is not rightly placed. So one line that I'm going to, let's say, I want to mention from here directly. So that says that India may be moving towards a majoritarianism, but the arc of democracy is increasingly bending towards multiculturalism. Okay, so the democracy itself is moving towards multiculturalism, but the thing is, like, there is a, let's say, like, majoritarian view is being imposed upon like all the sections of the society, even like on minorities. But the author says that democracy, arc of the democracy is moving towards multiculturalism. So author says, like, it is going to bring great clash, right, among, or, like, between the minority sections of the country and the state at large, statement and India. Okay, and it may lead to litigation matters. Huge number of litigation may start arising because of this particular issue, because of implementation of uniform civil code, right? So that's all, like, in this article. You can read it in your free time to understand little more. Okay, so we do have a question for you. This question says, with reference to secularism, consider the following statements. The term secular was added by 41st Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. Okay, the term secular in Indian Constitution was added in the Indian Constitution, you can mention over here, by 41st Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. This is wrong. It was not 41st, it was 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 76. Then second statement, state is neither religious nor irreligious nor anti-religious. Okay, so this statement is right. It says, like, Indian state is not neither religious nor irreligious and nor anti-religious. Okay, like, it is neutral. Okay, so we do have a positive connotation related to it, and they are asking which of these statements are correct. So correct answer would be option B. Okay, option B would be the right answer, which is only 2, right? Only 2. We have also given solution to this question, right? So you can go through the solution, you can go through the explanation to understand it more. So with this we have another topic. It says downhill driving. Shrinking trade volumes pose a risk for this year's growth hopes. So basically this particular article talks about the trade that India is doing with the rest of the countries in the world, okay? It talks about India's trade with other countries, okay? So when we are doing trade with other countries, we are doing trade in goods and services. We are doing trade in goods and services. So when we are doing trades in goods and services, so like if we have more exports, okay? If we have more exports, so this will lead to increased, okay, it will lead to increased income. Increased income means like, you know, increased money supply into the country. If we have more imports, okay, if we have more imports, this is going to lead to more bills for the country, okay, more bills. I mean, like, you know, we need to pay more to outside. So so cash flow, in this case, cash flow, okay, will be outside, okay, cash flow will be outside India. And if we are exporting more, so in that case what will happen? The cash flow means it will come inside the country, means like we will receive more money from outside. So this is the thing. Now if a country wants to prosper, if a country wants to grow, if a country wants to have a trade surplus, in that case we need to have more exports and lesser imports, okay? We need to have more exports and lesser imports. But in this article the author has said that, like, you know, the trade volume has shrunk, it is shrinking, and it is posing a risk for this year's growth hope. I mean, like, you know, the exports that we were doing earlier, those exports have gone down. Exports are gone down and imports have gone up. And so we are, let's say, paying more money to other countries. What it is doing, it is, let's say, like, you know, creating a fiscal deficit, okay? So we are having our, let's say, trade deficit. We can like simply use the term trade deficit. Trade deficit means when exports are more, imports are less, right? So for trade deficit means when exports are less, imports are more, right? It will be reverse of this particular scenario that I have discussed now, right? So you need to read this article, you need to understand about the, let's say, those minute terms. I mean, like, they have mentioned about what percentage, like, you know, has the trade has grown in what period of time, like that, you know, with money terms also. So you need to read this article to understand about those figures, right? I have shared the ideas with you, okay? I have shared the broad ideas related to trade related aspects with you. Now let's take another topic quickly. So this topic is related to on ED's power to arrest and seek custody, right? So this article is about enforcement directorate. So in this article is, let's say, in a question answer form. So questions that are asked is, why was Tamil Nadu Minister V. Senthi Balaji arrested by enforcement directorate officials? Are ED officials same as police officers? Why the Supreme Court cautioned against continued judicial interference in money laundering cases, okay? So these are the things, like, you know, that will be answered through this particular article. So let's start the discussion. I'll be little quick in this particular topic so that, like, let's say you have a let's say proper understanding quickly on this topic, okay? So this topic is, it says on EDs, okay? On ED's power to arrest and seek custody. On ED's power to arrest and seek custody. So we have already had a discussion related to enforcement directorate. So we know that, like, enforcement directorate, like when we talk about ED, it means enforcement directorate. It is an intelligence agency, okay? It is an intelligence, okay, agency, we can say it is an intelligence agency. And the Supreme Court of India has also talked about, like Supreme Court of India has also said, not intelligence, let's say it has talked about that it is an investigating agency. Okay, it is an investigating agency. So in one of the case of the Supreme Court of India, it said like it is an investigating agency. So this particular investigating agency has been given powers under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, okay, PMLA Act 2010. So there was an act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So on that particular act, 2002. So in that Prevention of Money Laundering Act, right, they have given power to ED to investigate, okay, to investigate and arrest persons who are suspected of doing money laundering activities, right? So basic power that the Enforcement Directorate, right, derives is from Prevention of Money Laundering Act. But like it not only looks into those issues that are mentioned in the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Apart from this, there are two other let's say like two other laws that are in place under which the Enforcement Directorate does have right of investigation, right? So this Enforcement Directorate, this acts as a civil court, okay, it acts as a civil court, and also its officials have the authority to arrest a person. But whether the Enforcement Directorate has the power of seeking judicial custody, of seeking custody of a person is like of seeking custody of a person was questioned in a high court, right, recently in I think Kerala High Court, right? So it has been sought Kerala or Madras High Court, but the High Court has granted judicial custody of a minister, right, who was involved into some money laundering activities. So this is the, let's say, basic thing related to Enforcement Directorate. When we compare the Enforcement Directorate with police officials, so what police officials do, before they arrest a person, right, they need an arrest warrant, and for that, let's say the police officers file FIRs, first information reports, and which is mandatory for police officers to file first information report. But in case of Enforcement Directorate, they can directly enter into, let's say any premises to do investigative agencies, and it does have, let's say some suo moto powers, I mean some powers to look into these matters. So in this article, what the author has done, author has talked about some of the court cases related to Supreme Court of India and also High Court. So the author has mentioned one of the case, which is Vijay Mandal Chaudhary versus Union of India. Okay, so I'm going to talk about those cases. Number one, Vijay Mandal Chaudhary versus Union of India. That is one of the case. I'm going to talk about the details of this particular case also. Let me write down all the cases that are mentioned. Okay. Second is Y Balaji versus Kartik Desai. Y Balaji versus Kartik Desai, 2003 case. Then another case that the author has mentioned is P. Chidambaram versus Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, P. Chidambaram versus Directorate of Enforcement. In short, I am writing ED. Okay, Directorate of Enforcement. So these are the three cases that have been mentioned over here. So what related to this Vijay Mandal versus Chaudhary versus Union of India. In this particular case, Mr. Kapil Sibal, okay, Mr. Kapil Sibal appeared in front of Supreme Court of India, right, in Vijay Mandal Chaudhary versus Union of India. So in that case, what has happened, that the judge accepted, right, the central question of the case was whether ED has the power to seek custody of a person arrested, right. So in this case, Vijay Mandal case, the court has examined whether enforcement directorate has the authority to seek custody of a person, right? In that case, the judge accepted senior advocate Kapil Sibbal's argument on behalf of the petitioner that ED officials are not police officers as per the law laid down this. So in this case, Vijay Mandal case, the court has clarified that ED, enforcement directorate officials are not police officers. So their power is restricted, which is mentioned under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And apart from this, the session judge remanded Balaji to judicial custody as per section 167. Under this particular thing, under ED Act, they do not have the authority to act as police officers. However, they have also filed cases against the person under Criminal Procedure Code, CRPC 167, section 167 of CRPC, and they have also mentioned about other sections. So through these case laws, the courts have examined whether ED has the authority as police officers. So courts are very clear that police and ED are different. ED have different powers and rights, and police have different powers and rights. ED has the power to arrest a person, but they cannot seek custody of the person. The custody has to be in judicial custody. It means the person has to be sent in jail. They cannot be kept in ED offices, right? So these are the things. So in this article, they have discussed about, let's say, ED's power to arrest and seek custody, right? So this is the thing. So in P. Chidambaram versus Directorate of Enforcement, the Supreme Court of India rejected a prayer for anticipatory bail with respect to an offense of money laundering, okay? So anticipatory bail was not allowed to an accused person, okay, in that case. So that's the thing. ED related things are coming every day. Why? Because enforcement directorate seems to be very active under the present dispensation, under the present government, and many opposition parties are also blaming the central government for inappropriately using ED, CBI against the opposition members, right? Opposition members, or let's say other state parties, right? So let us solve this question. It says, with reference to the Directorate of Enforcement, consider the following statements. It says ED has been given the responsibility to conduct investigation into suspected contravention of foreign exchange laws. Second, Enforcement of Fugitive Economic Offenders Act is the function of ED. Okay. So now we need to see which of these statements are correct, right? You need to solve this question. The second statement is 100% correct because it is Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. You might have been reading that Vijay Mallya and many other such fugitive economic offenders, they have been tried by ED. ED is behind them, right? So both these statements in the question, right, they are right. So ED draws its powers, right, from Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and also it does have many authorities related to the Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA 1999, and also Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2008, right? So these are the things, these are the laws that ED is looking into, right? And also it is enforcing certain things related to these. So with this, we have another topic quickly. It says, will generic supply of bedaquiline be accessible? This is again a very important topic, very, very important topic. Will generic supply, okay, will generic supply of bedaquiline, okay, bedaquiline be accessible, okay, be accessible. Now let us understand what is bedaquiline, okay. Bedaquiline is a multi-drug resistant, right? It is a drug resistant tuberculosis. It is a medicine, okay. Bedaquiline is a medicine. In short, I am writing, it is medicine for cancer treatment, okay. It is a medicine for, not cancer, treatment of tuberculosis, okay. It is a medicine for treatment of tuberculosis. and this treats, right, drug resistant TB, it treats drug resistant TB. Okay, this bedaquiline treats drug resistant TB, and this particular medicine bedaquiline, it has been made by a company which is known as Johnson's and Johnson's, and they got it patented initially. Let's say any drug that gets patented in India, that patent right is given to the company for 20 years. So this particular drug was, let's say, patented by this particular company in 2002 in India. Okay, they got patented in 2002 and it expired on 18th of July 2022. It expired, the patent expired. But this Johnson and Johnson company, they have applied, right, for let's say renewable secondary patent. Okay, they have applied for secondary patent. Secondary patent means they have applied for renewable of patent rights, right, in many countries till the year of 2027. And this particular drug has been, let's say, it has received secondary patents from many countries across the world. It has received this rights from many countries across the world so far. However, this particular drug was not, let's say, this secondary patent right was not granted in India because there were some pre-grant opposition. Okay, there were some pre-grant opposition in India. What do we mean by pre-grant opposition? Means, let's say, generally a company that manufactures some drug, they do huge amount of research and development before manufacturing the drug, and they invest a huge amount of money in doing the R&D. So that's why, once they develop certain kind of drug, right, so it goes through different stages of clinical trial. After it gets approval, only then, let's say, it is used for human consumption. And only after then the drug manufacturing companies or medicine manufacturing companies start generating profit. And this particular company, Johnson and Johnson, it has been profiting from last 20 years. And recently one of the organization which is known as Médecins Sans Frontières, that's a French word, it means Doctors Without Borders. Okay, it means Doctors Without Borders. So that Doctors Without Borders is an international NGO. It's an international, let's say, organization, a non-profit organization that is, let's say, delivering drugs to patients, that is helping patients in difficult areas as well, right? So this particular organization has, written to the United States that this Johnson and Johnson company should not seek renewal of the patent on bedaquiline, because bedaquiline should be made generic. It should be available as a generic medicine in the market now. Generic medicines are those medicines that are, let's say, like generic variant of the branded medicine, and they have the similar medical effect, right, as a branded medicine, but generic medicines are available at a very cheaper cost to the patients, and so it becomes affordable for the patients to get treated through generic medicine as compared to branded medicine. They have the same medical effect on the patient. So that's why in India this bedaquiline has not been given second it has not been given secondary patent over bedaquiline, but in some of the countries it has received, this particular company has received. Okay, you need to remember the name of this particular medicine, bedaquiline. This particular medicine is used for treating drug resistant tuberculosis. Okay, drug resistant TB. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, so this article is a good article. So there have been few more articles in the past days, where Doctors Without Borders was also mentioned, and many such cases have been mentioned. So this is just a continuation of the previous article. So with this, we will take this particular topic. It says, with reference to tuberculosis, consider the following statements. 1. TB was declared by WHO as the world's deadliest infectious disease. Second, tuberculosis is non-preventable and non-curable. right? Now, the first statement is right. It was earlier declared as the world's deadliest infectious disease long back. It is not a new thing, okay? Recently, COVID-19 has been declared similarly, okay? That like it is deadliest infectious disease, COVID-19, Ebola virus, etc. But it is preventable and also curable, okay? So they are asking which of these statements are correct. So only one. Statement 1 means option A would be the right answer in this case, right? Option A would be the right answer. So like we have also included the explanation, right, in the file itself. In your free time you can go through the explanation to learn more about tuberculosis. This article, I mean, like, although it was not in the printed version of the newspaper, however, it was there in the e-version of the newspaper. Today, like, there has been a dissimilarity in the printed version and e-version. In the printed version, there was a jacket page where, like, there was a very good article. However, this was not there in the e-version. And in the e-version, they have this science and tech related topic, but like it is not there in the printed version. Okay, so that dissimilarity is there in today's newspaper. So we have included the e-version topic. Okay. So it says climate targets are becoming outdated. India needs its own, right? So this particular topic is important under environment and ecology section. Okay, environment and ecology. This is also important for science and technology, right? So why this article is important? Because, like, the global warming, right? Global warming is increasing. Global warming is increasing at an alarming rate. Okay, global warming is increasing at an alarming rate. So initially what has happened, that, like, people have talked about that we should stop the global warming from happening beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade when we compare it with pre-industrial level. However, that target seems to be, let's say, like, impossible for achieving, right? So that target, I mean, like, they have mentioned by 2000 and by the end of this particular century, by 2100. However, means we wanted to stop global warming to happen, let's say, go above 1.5 degrees centigrade, like when it compared to pre-industrial level. However, like, the global warming is increasing at a very rapid pace, and this year we have seen the event of El Nino. Okay, El Nino. So what is El Nino? El Nino is a geographical concept that talks about that, let's say, huge amount of monsoon, huge amount of rain. Okay, why? Because of global warming effect. Okay, because of global warming effect, so huge amount of rain comes from Mediterranean Sea. You might be knowing that, like, those waves start moving towards eastward. They bring huge amount of rainfall, right? And it causes floods in many places. So that is known as El Nino, right? And there is an opposite term also to this, which is known as La Nina. La Nina means in those years when we have huge drought. Okay, drought means there is less rainfall, right? The temperature will be high, the lands will go barren. Okay, so these things happen, right, in La Nina years. But in El Nino we have floods, rainfall, and etc. So through this article, the author wants to highlight upon that the global warming has been increasing, and because of El Nino effect, the global warming is again in news. And the targets that the world has taken for itself in Paris Climate Agreement. Okay, so here they have talked about that in Paris Climate Agreement, the world has adopted a target that, like, we will not the planet warm beyond 2 degrees Celsius by 2100, but that is impossible to achieve. So in this article, the author has also talked about that these targets that the scientists are adopting, the target of, let's say, initially there was a target of reducing the global warming below 1.5 degrees centigrade, and in Paris Agreement there was a target of, let's say, like, keeping the global warming below 2 degrees centigrade by 2100. The author is questioning these targets as well, that, like, these targets have been arrived by the scientists without looking into, let's say, like, complex factors, right? without looking into complex factors, these scientists have arrived at these targets. And also the author talks about that the earth system models, right, earth system models that the scientists are following to arrive at these targets are also not flawless. They are not flawless, they do have flaws in them. So the author says now India has, India also has some leadership roles to play. So author says, more importantly, India should continue its leadership role by demanding that the community centered on the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change be prepared to improve projections that quantify impacts at local scales. Okay, so like India, so we do have IPCC, like India has adopted target, and India wants to achieve net zero emission by the year 2070. Okay, we want to achieve net zero emission by the year of 2070, and for that, like, India is already on a path of achieving its target because India has fulfilled many of its ambitions that it has set for itself. For example, if I talk about nationally determined contributions, NDC, so India was good at that, right? Nationally determined contribution. There were 8 targets under it, so India was able to achieve them. Apart from this, like, that is known as intended nationally determined contributions. Okay, so India has achieved them also. So in this article, the author says that climate targets are becoming outdated. So, and India needs its own climate, climate target. So that was the message that the author wants to give to this article, right? So what you can do is, like, you can download this particular PDF document from the description of the YouTube video, right? And then you can go through it to understand about some of the terms, key terms that have been mentioned in this article, right? So with this, we will move to the next topic, and also we have another mains question for you. It says, what is climate change? What are the causes and challenges of climate change? Discuss what are India's effort to counter climate change. You need to write this answer in 250 words and you can share it with us, right? So with this, let's move to the next topic quickly. Japanese foreign minister to visit India this week, discuss vision for global south. Okay, so the foreign minister of Japan is going to visit India. He is going to discuss with the prime minister of India, with the foreign minister of India, with the foreign secretary of India. So he is going to talk about the vision for global south. Okay, so like in this article, what is important is, so I'm just writing. Japan's foreign minister's visit, okay, FM's visit. I'm just writing it short, so that you understand. In this article, we need to understand about global south. What do we mean by global south? So this keyword is very important because recently, earlier also, there was an article that discussed about global south. So you might be knowing that, generally, people have this connotation that, Earth is divided into 2 parts. One part is northern hemisphere, the other part is southern hemisphere. So generally people consider that, like, all those countries that are lying to the south of the equator, right? To the south of the equator, all these countries that are lying, they are considered to be part of global south. Okay, that are considered to be part of global south. However, this assumption is not right. Okay, this assumption is not right because this global south is not only a geographical concept, or it is not a geographical concept only. Okay, it's not a geographical concept. Okay, it's not a geographical concept. It's not only a geographical concept, although there are some connotation. For example, if I talk about India, okay, if I talk about India, India is lying totally in the northern hemisphere. Along with India, China, okay, China is also lying in the northern hemisphere. India, China are also part of global south. Let's say the South America, okay, South America. South America is like having 13 countries in it. It is also a part of global south, okay. So if I talk about Japan, it's also a part of global south. So what do we mean by global south? Global south represents, right, those countries that share some common characteristics, okay, countries that share common characteristics, okay, common characteristics. What are those common characteristics? Those common characteristics are, most of these countries are developing or underdeveloped countries. Developing or underdeveloped countries. Most of these countries are these. So these countries are going through a phase of industrialization at this point of time, okay? They are going through a phase of industrialization. These are, developing in the nature that, like, if I talk about global south, global north has, let's say, United States of America, Canada, the European Union, Russia. So global north generally includes those countries that are more prosperous, that are more developed as compared to global south. So there is a concept also which is known as south-south relationship, okay? Concept is south-south relationship. South-south relationship means the relationship between, okay, relationship between those countries that are lying in the southern part of the world, okay? Southern part means south hemisphere, like South America, or South America is a continent, and relation between Africa, South America and Africa, or let's South America and India. So relation between these countries is south-south relation or south-south cooperation. So the foreign minister of Japan is going to visit India. He is going to talk about the vision for global south, that how global south can achieve, let's say, higher targets for itself, how they can prosper, how they can grow, what should be the roadmap, right? What should be the targets that it should, let's say, think of achieving. So these are the things that they are going to discuss, right? So I hope you have understood the concept of global south. Other things is, like, they are going to discuss about G7 presidency. They are going to discuss about G20 related things, right? So with this, like, we do have another pointer for you. It says 19,000 evacuated as wildfire rages on Greek island of Rhodes, okay, Rhodes Island. So in Greece we have Rhodes Island, and there have been wildfire, and you know that wildfire are because of heat waves. Generally heat waves causes wildfires. Heat waves are caused because of global warming, okay, because of global warming or climate change, okay, because of global warming and climate change, heat waves arise, and these heat waves lead to wildfires, okay, wildfires. And because of wildfires, like, people lose their, let's say, like, home. They, like, jungles are also like, what happens, like, jungles are also roused in the sense, jungles are also come under, let's say, like, wildfire, and lot of animals lose their lives, okay, in wildfires. There have been many such incidences in the past, okay. So this is just included to make you understand about wildfire, okay. So this is the map of Greece, okay. So we have included this particular image just to help you understand the location of, let's say, Rhodes Island, okay. So this is the Greece, this is country, like, it has maritime borders with Ionian Sea, Aegean Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Sea of Crete, and this is the location of Rhodes Island, okay, location of Rhodes Island. So with this, let us take another topic quickly. Okay. So this topic says NIA files charge sheet against 9 accused linked to BKI and Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay, NIA stands for National Investigating Agency. So this National Investigating Agency is an investigating agency in India that has been established in 2008. This has been established after, right, 9/11 attack, okay, or Mumbai terror attack of 2010 or 2008, okay, Mumbai terror attack. After Mumbai terror attack, it has been established, the National Investigating Agency. So the NIA has recently done investigation, against few people who are part of two banned organization. They are Babbar Khalsa International, BKI, and Khalistan Tiger Force, KTF, okay. And so they have raided multiple places and they have identified some of the people who are associated with some kind of, let's say, money laundering activities, money transfer, terrorist activities and all. So this is just an update related to this. Why we have included, just to make you understand about the National Investigating Agency and its role, okay. So with this, let's take another topic. It says Modi likely to inaugurate redeveloped ITPO complex G20 meet venue this week, okay. So there is a complex which is India Trade Promotion Organization, okay. It is located in the Pragati Maidan, okay. It is located in the Pragati Maidan. So the Prime Minister of India is going to inaugurate this, okay. Apart from this, the IECC Integrated Exhibition cum Convention Center. So this is this is also a part of redevelopment project that has happened over there. So these things are being, let's say, inaugurated by the Prime Minister so that G20 meeting can be held over there, okay. So this is for growing MICE. MICE means meetings, incentives and conferences and exhibitions. So these are important to promote, let's say, trade related activities in the country, and that's going to boost our economic let's say activities in the country, and it's going to make the country prosper, okay. So this is the thing. So with this, we have another topic. It says ASI team in Varanasi to begin scientific survey of Gyanvapi mosque complex, okay. ASI stands for Archaeological Survey of India. This Archaeological Survey of India is an organization of the government of India that looks into, right, all those monuments, right, all those historical places, complexes that are under protection, okay. ASI protects those monuments. And you might be knowing there have been some controversy. People have started saying that inside this particular mosque, Gyanvapi mosque, has been developed over a temple complex. So that's why a investigation is going to be conducted, a scientific survey is going to be conducted in the Gyanvapi mosque. And recently the High Court, okay, I think Allahabad High Court has asked the ASI to do the investigation over there. And earlier a Supreme Court of India bench, Supreme Court of India has also talked about that, an inquiry will not happen in this and this aspect, like that. So again, we have another question for you. This question is related to, it says, with reference to Archaeological Survey of India, consider the following statements. ASI is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This is incorrect. Second, it regulates Antiquities and Art Treasure Act 1972. This is right. And here they are asking which of the above statements are incorrect. So statement 1 will be incorrect. So option would be option A, okay. It is important that you look into this aspect also, whether they are asking incorrect or correct, okay. Option A would be the right answer in this case. That's given. You can go through the solution in your free time. So that's all from our side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.